This is Terrence Andre Banks with Information Age Financial Solutions, coming to you with a disturbing article I read from CNBC. Homelessness is continuing to rise, and even with all the stimulus packages they've provided, the rent moratoriums, the not allowing people to stay through the virus, it's just not working. And we need to look at things in a completely different light. And that it's just fascinating to see that with all the package they're giving out money, all the different programs, the numbers of homelessness continue to be still skyrockets. We'll dive right into this article with one. As always, I'm going to put a link inside the description. More than 500,000 Americans unhoused. The U.S. is still struggling to solve the homelessness crisis. This was done January 7, 2022. Why the U.S. can't solve the homeless crisis. I want to click on the video in a second, but I want to kind of read the key points here. Over 500,000 Americans were unhoused in 2020. Despite the rising budget, overall homelessness in the U.S. has improved by only 10% compared with 2007. For decades, the U.S. has relied on a housing-first approach to homelessness, where permanent housing is provided for homeless people without preconditions. Some critics argue that housing first hasn't done much to solve the crisis. I agree totally with that. The COVID pandemic caused a surge in housing crisis and a rise in unemployment, leaving nearly 600,000 Americans unhoused in 2020. What people don't typically realize when they walk past a person who's homeless is that the person is costing taxpayers a lot of money. This is a good point to point out. It's costing taxpayers a lot of money, said Sam December, chief executive officer at Pathways Housing First Institute. In 2019, New York City spent a record-breaking $3 billion to support its homeless population. California is also expected to break its record, allocating $4.8 billion to the same issue over the next 2 years. Despite the rising budget, overall homelessness in the U.S. has improved by only 10% compared with 2007. It's even worse for certain subgroups, such as individual homeless, which dropped by only 1% in the same period. Right now, we are trending in the wrong direction, said Anthony Lowe, interim executive director at the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness. The state of homelessness is pretty tenuous, and there are some small increases that are taking place across the board. For decades, the U.S. relied on a housing-first approach to homelessness, where permanent housing is provided for homeless people without preconditions such as sobriety or employment. Without the coach to guide me into housing, I wouldn't be where I am at now, says Shannon McGee, who moved into his supportive housing in 2020 after being unhoused for 12 years. Being able to have my housing first, I know that I'm in control of my environment. Now, what happens here is all about what I create. However, some critics of the housing first approach say it hasn't shown enough real results to deem it successful. When the public is told that this particular policy is going to end homelessness, then what they're expecting is that they're going to see fewer homeless people around, said Stephen Eady, a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute. I don't think that we've seen that in the case of housing first. Watch the video. Dive right into this video, at least watch a little bit of it. Give it a few seconds to queue up. Oh boy. Laptop. So bear with me a few more minutes with this. And again, it's just unreal to think it's going to be almost 600,000 people that's homeless in the United States, and numbers seem to just continue to increase. $3 billion. And as always, I'm going to put a link inside the description, as I mentioned. Short video, but it gets right to the point itself. So when you click on these links in these videos, it's not the easiest to queue up. Let's see if it gets there. Video's taking too long to queue. Hopefully, just a few more seconds. Doesn't come out. All right, it's loading the ad now, it looks like.
The homeless crisis in America is worsening again. The COVID pandemic caused a surge in housing costs and a rise in unemployment, leaving nearly 600,000 Americans unhoused in 2020.
We have to shut down a piece of our own humanity to be able to walk past another human being that is in such a difficult situation.
And being homeless, your days and you spent from where I'm going to lay my head at tonight, where I'm going to get my next bite of food from.
And what people don't typically realize when they walk past a person who's homeless is that this person is costing taxpayers a lot of money.
Cities across America are spending more than ever to combat the crisis. In 2019, New York spent a record-breaking $3 billion to support its homeless population. California is also expected to break its record, allocating $4.8 billion of its budget to the same issue over the next 2 years.
And areas like that just don't seem to be getting any better, despite the fact that every policy 'Petition claims that this is a priority of theirs, and the budgets keep going up.
Overall, homelessness in America has only improved 10% compared to 2007. It's even worse for certain
Beginning of the last crisis, so it's quite interesting to see that. And even then, they keep allocating more and more capital. Problem's not working.
Groups such as individual homelessness, which dropped only 1% in the same period. On the contrary, 2020 saw a 30% increase in the unsheltered homeless, erasing over half a decade of work since its dramatic rise in 2015.
Right now, we are trending in the wrong direction. So the state of homelessness right now is pretty tenuous, and there are some small increases that are taking place across the board.
So, how is the U.S. addressing the homeless crisis, and can it ever be solved? Homelessness is known to prey on some of the most vulnerable populations in America. In 2020, 20% of those who were unhoused suffered from severe mental disorders, while 16% suffered from chronic substance abuse. In response, the U.S. has long relied on a housing-ready approach to homelessness, where those who are unhoused had to meet specific requirements such as sobriety or completion of treatment in order to qualify for a home. That was until this man, Dr. Sam Simbaris, pioneered the Housing First initiative.
At some point, myself and the people we were working with realized that really insisting that people change, get sober, take medication, get your life together in order to earn or be awarded housing was not working. It was just, people couldn't. People were on the street. They couldn't stay sober. They were not interested in medication. They were interested in being somewhere safe and secure.
The Housing First initiative follows two tenets. First, the most effective solution to homelessness is permanent housing.
The only problem with any of this is that who's paying for it? And even then, they've been spending out billions of dollars for this, and still the problem's only getting worse. So a new approach needs to be taken in. Again, watch this video at your leisure. We got that. Even if we're looking at humanity, when you look at people on the street, and the numbers only going to increase as we're dealing with inflation. And we want to start probably seeing more families on the street as well. It's a sad condition, especially if this is the richest country in the world. But it's just something to do, to be always mindful and be prepared, and be in an understanding mindset. This can happen to anybody if circumstances don't go into your favor. If this video has been any value to you, please subscribe, leave some comments, hit the like button, share this. And until my next video for Information Age Financial Solutions, I'm out.